Brakes starting at just $100. Alignment starting at $59.99.
Join me for Eye on Health every Thursday at 5 p.m.
In these hot, humid summer days, let's talk a little bit about how that weather might affect your hearing aids if you have them. Tiffany Ahlberg is here with Ahlberg Audiology. I wouldn't have thought that one, but that's a real thing?
Oh yeah, definitely. So, whenever people are exposed to moisture, whether it be water, swimming pools, but also sweat. So people are outside working and they're sweating, and so when you think about hearing aids, they're little electronic computers that sit next to our skin.
Well, then now it does make sense.
Yeah, and so they have these electronic components, and we not only are producing moisture, producing oils from our skins, but then we also the heat of our skin whenever we're hot.
Have you ever had with your cell phone how the speaker all of a sudden won't work?
Yeah.
And I think it's because it has to get cleaned out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, definitely.
Is it a similar thing?
So that is, so hearing aids are rated in IP ratings, which is a European rating, and they're rated for moisture and dust resistance. And so, and I think cell phones are too. So as cell phones come out, they're more and more moisture resistant, dust resistant, and so they're getting better. So now, a couple years ago we heard, oh, you can like get your cell phone wet and it won't break it anymore. And the same thing with hearing aids, they become more moisture resistant. Every generation, that's one thing that they're working on. So now most of the hearing aids are rated IP68. IP68 that means that it can be 1.5 meters underwater for 30 minutes without any risk of problems.
So you can go to the beach with your grandchildren and not worry if they get wet.
Yeah. So people ask me, like, if I get out in the rain, if it's a torrential downpour, will that harm my hearing devices? And no, I mean, go dance in the rain if you want to. Sometimes, so they do kind of get saturated sometimes, which can impede the sound from coming through because they're having to go through a microphone and then they're having to come back out a speaker. So you have all these electronic components that are in different variables with how that reacts, but it'll dry out and then it'll work okay. So the components inside the electronics are safe from
protected.
That. Now, sweat is different because it's a corrosive kind of moisture, so it has a different chemical makeup. So there are certain brands and types of devices that are rated higher for sweat or salt water and not just the regular water.
Okay, so a couple of things. Do people come to you to get them cleaned, or do they clean them themselves?
So just like you said, the microphones, they can get dust and debris on them. And so we have special little vacuums that we can get in there and we can vacuum out that debris off the microphones. We also have a commercial dryer, which is called a Redux. So we can put people's hearing devices in this Redux and it pulls out the moisture and it tells us exactly how much moisture somebody has in there. So we can kind of keep track of, hey, last time it was 0.5. But this time it was 2.5. What's going on? We had someone that came in yesterday that had accidentally, she was pulling it out of the charger and it just went flying, and I guess it fell in the sink or something, and it was like in a bowl of water. So she brought it in, but it was fine. So
does that mean then that if you do kind of preventive maintenance and come to you periodically to get them cleaned, will it prolong the life?
Yes, it does. And so we tell, come in, let us run it through the dryer as often as you want us to. We can just run it through that, and that will pull out any moisture from the microphones and receivers.
So I had never thought of this until we were talking today, but if you're somebody who produces a lot of earwax, do you have to have a different type of hearing device, or does that come into consideration?
It does. I mean, there are some that are better for earwax than others, but all hearing devices have something called a wax guard in them, and the wax guard is a filter. I think of it like a mesh screen, and that will collect the earwax, and so the hearing aid won't work when that gets occluded, but it's changeable. So you can just pull that out, change it. It's the most common issue as when people come in and say my hearing aid's not working. That is the most common reason that a hearing aid malfunctions is the wax guards. But they can change it at home. But
do your hearing aids feel different if you're in an airplane? Like when you take off and land, or does the change in air pressure affect them at all?
Not really. I mean, it's all about pressure equalization between the outside of your ear and the inside of your ear, and they don't affect them very much.
But if you wear hearing aids and you're doing the protective hearing advice that you always recommend of wearing, headphones if you're cutting the grass or whatever, that's going to just make it even more sweaty inside your ears.
So people,
so just get them cleaned.
Get them cleaned, and I ask people, like how much sweat? I mean, how much are we talking about? If you are just somebody who's saturated and your hair is like soaking wet when you mow the yard, then don't wear them under the headgear. But if you don't sweat a lot, then go for it. Wear them. Like listen to your music while you got your headphones on. And
so I know there are people who watch you here on a regular basis, and they may have gotten some hearing aids, but not from you. Can they still come to you?
Oh, of course, yes. We see people all the time. Sometimes people move here from a different state, or they, are transplants, and they come to this area, and we work on all makes and models. So, yes, we can work on any of them.
Or they may have done the thing of buy some over the counter that you hear about, where you're not really getting that audiologist's advice and expertise going into it. So if you want to go see Tiffany and her team, they do have 2 locations, both in Cleveland and now in Athens. So there's that information there on your screen. Ahlbergaudiology.com is the simplest way to find out which location is closest to you. And she always recommends a baseline hearing test for all of us once we are, is it 50?
50, yes.
Okay.
Ashley Stars and Stripes sale is going on now, and everything is on sale. Get unbelievable deals on hot buys up to 50% off.